So hi everybody and welcome to October's Spotlight On interview. So this month we're focusing on an aspect of networkology that we know really matters to our global community of disability, ERG and network leaders. And of course, when I use the term networkology, I'm of course talking about the word that we invented to describe the art and the science of running a high impact disability ERG or network. So just to set the scene and by way of background, one of the key findings from our global impact report, our Great Global Impact Report of 2021, was that one of the greatest challenges for our community of disability ERG and network leaders is making time for their voluntary role, and of course also attracting and recruiting other volunteers. And that prompted the question, how do organizations recognize and resource and reward the individuals who are making this most extraordinary contribution to cultural change within their organizations? So as ever, I'm joined by my colleague, Lauren Pemberton Nelson. Hey, Lauren.
Hi, Brendan. Really excited for this interview. Today we'll be speaking to Tom Franz and Carden Wyckoff from Salesforce. Carden is the global president for Abilityforce, which is Salesforce's disability equality group. And Tom is the senior manager of accessibility, partnerships and public relations, and is also involved in Abilityforce. We know that Salesforce has done a lot of work around recognizing resourcing and rewarding their ERG leaders.
Awesome. Well, hi, Carden. Hi, Tom. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Brendan and Lauren.
It's a real pleasure. I've been excited to have this conversation. So maybe just to get started then, if you could just start by telling us a little bit about your roles at Salesforce and then specifically your role in either supporting or delivering the work of the Abilityforce Equality Group. And Carden, can I start with you?
Sure, thank you. And my name's Carden Wyckoff. Just a visual description, I'm a white woman in my late 20s. And I have medium length brown hair in my bedroom setting, and I'm wearing like a cheetah print sweater because it's almost fall, y'all. And I'm excited for that. I've been at Salesforce 5.5 years, and I work in the technical support organization for one of our products and being the global president for Abilityforce. And I joined Abilityforce in 2016, just after it was created. So I joined Salesforce in 2016, mid 2016, and I took over the accessibility planning of our largest tech conference called Dreamforce. And I managed that with the events team for 3 years as a volunteer, and additionally launched the Atlanta Abilityforce chapter. In the past year, I transitioned to the global executive vice president and now serve as the president, leading over 4,000 members at the company, which is really exciting. And all this work, I'm backed by an incredible team, not only including Tom, but 5 other global leaders. And we oversee 25 chapters globally to promote disability awareness and inclusion events internally. Yeah, Tom?
Hey everyone, I'm Tom. I'm a white male that's 320 something days away from being 40. I had a beard. I shaved it for the first time in a year, so I feel like I look 29. I'm excited to be here today. A little background for me. I've been in the tech industry for around 10, 11 years at places like Intel, Amazon, Uber, Facebook, and now here at Salesforce for the last 1.5 years. And at each company, I've played some sort of role within the disability equality groups. At Facebook, being able to actually lead that group while I was there. Here at Salesforce, my role is a little bit different. I'm always a member of all the equality groups dealing with disabilities, no matter what I do. But being part of the Office of Accessibility, I play a support role, being there for the Abilityforce members when they need any help, or going to them when we have a lot of ideas that would help amplify our efforts. So definitely with my partnerships part of the role and public relations, being able to utilize that role to help get the message and support for the disability community at whole.
Awesome. Wow, there's a wealth of experience between you both. So yeah, it's great to have you here today.
Thank you so much, guys. Really interesting to hear about the amazing experience that you have, as Brendan said. This month, as we focus on the 3 R's of recognizing, resourcing and rewarding networks and their leaders, could you tell us a bit more about how Salesforce recognizes the work of Abilityforce? If I could come to you first, Tom.
Yes, first, I just want to call out that the Office of Accessibility wouldn't be here without Abilityforce. It's something that I haven't seen in my entire career. In a quality group, actually being able to do something beyond just events and things like that, create something that's amazing, that is, here to stay and help the community long term. When it comes to recognizing, I think that we owe a lot to Abilityforce to make sure they realize that this is never forgotten. Really, like my role, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them. So that's the support again, is if I can ever help them, whether it's through budget resources, coming into webinars, doing any kind of public relations, anything that's asked, we will find a way to do it with them. And then just be there when it comes to any kind of support, when it comes to career development. Can I talk to a manager and let them know about the hard work that these individuals are doing. Again, we talk about it a lot as these are volunteer efforts. And when you go back to that Office of Accessibility, is the amount of work that I saw when I got there that happened to make this possible was amazing. It was like people were doing this full time. I'm talking business plans and executive leadership meetings and understanding how do you budget for a team that, has to have new roles and new structure. So I just hope that every time I walk into a webinar that I am clearly recognizing that, and that's part of the recognition.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, and to highlight a little background story of that. So for the first 3 years of Abilityforce, so 2016, 2017, 2018, and kind of even 2019, Abilityforce operated more as a business resource group than as an equality resource group. So the difference between those two is business resource groups really drive accessibility at the corporate level, whereas equality groups more so raise awareness and advocate, push internal events to just talk about the minority. And throughout the years, we worked and created that long-range plan to create the Office of Accessibility, advocated for the universal design strategy that's now the playbook for all of our real estate, and it's going up in our new buildings and in the renovations of our existing buildings, streamlining corporate travel and security for disabled employees. Like as myself, I use a wheelchair. And when I traveled to Europe, there was nothing in place. And so I worked to create that to make sure that we had those protections. And so when we shifted to more of an ERG, that's when our focus with the Office of Equality, so we have these two different offices, and the Office of Equality champions Abilityforce through events and awareness through a dedicated month called Champion Month, as we call it internally. And it's where we get extra budget, and it's kind of the highlighting, the big month is, okay, it's all about disabilities, or it's all about Latinas, or it's all about, Black or Indigenous or whatever. So October is Disability Employment Awareness Month, but it's also Abilityforce's Champion Month. So we put on programming and events, and it also is helpful that we have executive sponsors. So, C-level executives that are highlighting what the work that Abilityforce is being done. So I'm really just appreciative that all forms of leadership in the company, lower, middle, and upper level management, just champion disability and talk about it.
Thank you. It's so great to hear that. It's so comprehensive as well. Like there's not just one aspect of recognizing the work. It's in so many different areas, and it's really important to hear that it's all throughout management as well.
I love the commitment as well to really not only recognizing the impact of Abilityforce, but I guess almost kind of documenting it so that some of that history doesn't get lost as well, because the establishment of the Office for Accessibility, which is rightly getting a lot of attention and credit to ensure that the role that the Abilityforce ERG played in the establishment of that, like, I think is, yeah, it's really important. And as we work with our members to help them to do a better job of really describing the impact of high impact ERGs, it's one of the best examples that you can find, the most impactful examples. So next question then for me is this question of resourcing then. So we know from our community that organizations will often find lots of imaginative ways of resourcing the work of their ERGs and their networks. It could be budgets, it could be faculty time, it could be access to other business units. There are lots of different ways that organizations can approach this. So you started maybe to touch upon some of those in your earlier answers, but I would wondered if I could ask you specifically, how does this play out at Salesforce? So how do you ensure that Abilityforce has the resources it needs? And Carden, if I can come to you in the first instance.
Sure. So Abilityforce is held under the Office of Equality, so we get tremendous leadership and executive guidance for Abilityforce for programming and budget and approvals through that. But we do operate under a shared set of values, and also we have our own methods. So the way that we do that is through allyship. We provide professional development through community, and make sure that we're always giving back with philanthropy, which is our Salesforce's one-to-one model. So things that we'll do is we'll provide mental health trainings with licensed clinicians. We raise awareness, for example, with invisible disabilities, visible disabilities, with various nonprofits, and collaborate with other ERGs to promote intersectionality. And all this is led by internal employees. So I mentioned earlier, we have 25 global chapters, and these are all volunteer led, and they're all over the world. And people with disabilities or are impacted by disability, maybe through a family member or a caregiver, and they create chapters, and all supported by the Office of Equality. The Office of Equality has incredible programming and playbooks onto how to start a chapter and how to, and like all the stages in between.
Thanks, Carden. It sounds like that relationship with the Office of Equality is really key in terms of some of the resourcing challenges.
And thank you. Also, correct me if I'm not mistaken, but I do remember when I spoke to you guys before as well, you were saying that you get volunteer time off in Salesforce for work that you do on your ERG as well. Was just wondering if it's okay for me to add a follow-up question, if Carden or Tom, if you could touch on that as well.
Sure, yeah. So Salesforce also additionally provides 7 days of volunteer time off, so 56 hours. And we can apply those volunteer hours to Equality Resource Group activities. So either it's something that we as a global leader or regional leader are leading, or if we're attending an ERG event from another or ours. So it's a really awesome company benefit that we take full advantage of. At least I do.
Thank you so much. Again, it's really great to see the way in which recognizing resourcing is so comprehensive, and it's a lot of what you've mentioned is specifically within the ERG, but also to see that so much of it is just in the business in general, and the approach to accessibility and making sure that it's something which is almost intrinsic to the organization rather than a sort of afterthought. So thank you. Moving on to the third R of rewarding, could you tell us a bit about how Salesforce rewards the network or the members of the network? Tom, if I could come to you first, please.
Yeah, I'll leave most of this question to Carden because she knows that part the best, but I wanted to call out is everything sounds really positive, and it is, but we get things wrong all the time. I personally fail every single day, and I think it's really important too, because the learnings are the best part. And I don't always remember on emails to bring Abilityforce in, and I do have misses. And any organization out there that is coming in and learning from these webinars, don't think it's daunting and that you're so far behind, and know that all of the ones that you hold to these high standards are failing constantly. And that's the only way that we get through this together. So I will actually pass the real question off to Carden.
So Salesforce Office of Equality provides a quarterly budget to our 12 equality resource groups, which allows for a diverse range of programming in support of community building, professional development, philanthropy, and allyship. These are our 4 pillars. And Salesforce has a global ERG program lead who handles the centralized infrastructure and governance of the entire program. Salesforce also has a homegrown technology built on their platform that manages the budgets and campaigns of the ERGs, which makes our lives as a global leader much easier when submitting budgets and creating events. Salesforce Office of Equality also provides an award bonus to global leaders that serve for 2 years, and ERG leaders can log their volunteer time towards their annual 56-hour goal per employee for the work of the ERGs. And additionally, global leaders can also gain access to leadership development courses. Also, annually, we have an internal global ERG summit to new and existing leaders. And pre-COVID, this was on site at HQ, where global leaders were brought to HQ for the experience, and HQ is in San Francisco. And then finally, just on a personal note, being a global ERG leader is highly respected at the company and allows not only for high visibility internally and external speaking opportunities, but preparation in corporate equality, video and photo campaigns that are publicly displayed on websites, social media, and other website banners, and organically provides personal group training and managing large teams. So we do a lot here at Salesforce, and it's exciting to be a part of it.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just awesome to hear just how visible and influential and well respected the Abilityforce leadership is, and I'm sure it applies to your other equality groups as well. Just wondered about so Purple Space. We're all about leadership. For us, equality group leaders are in leadership positions, regardless of where they sit in the organizational chart. So, a question about leadership and just your own personal leadership lessons. So, what have you learned about how to improve either the way that ERGs are recognized or rewarded or resourced? What have you learned personally? And Carden, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, and when I first started at Salesforce, disability wasn't really recognized at all at the company. We didn't have an Office of Accessibility. We didn't even at the time have an Office of Equality. And as far as I knew, joining the Atlanta office, I was the only visibly disabled person in the office. And so starting from basically ground zero, I knew we had a long way to go. And so something that I've just learned along the way, and which has been really impactful for not only me, but seeing so many other employees do the same thing, is the power of personal storytelling and sharing your disability and being vulnerable and open and honest about it. I can easily talk about my disability because it's visible. Like, you're like, okay, you're in a wheelchair. What's wrong with you? Is what so many people ask me. So it kind of is like second nature to me. But I know the only way to really create an inclusive environment where people feel safe is when you have that emotional intelligence, when you have that psychological safety and that trusting environment, so that you can create safe spaces for people with disabilities to share their story. There's a number of people with invisible disabilities, and they have to have that safe space in order to share that. But also, we have the Office of Accessibility now, which is what Tom is helping to do, is creating the resources for the employee to be successful at the company. So I really think that the two and two working together synonymously has really been helping empower people with disabilities at the Salesforce corporate level and beyond. And additionally, just with the Office of Equality, it was created late 2016 in the fall. And I do feel like it's been shaped primarily from the bottom up. It was employees that asked for leadership and guidance on to how to pave the way for diversity and inclusion, and to realize and recognize that we didn't have any numbers, we didn't have self-ID that talked about it. And so helping the Office of Equality guide and provide feedback to just tell them that minorities matter, disability matters, and that we're here to stay and we're going to continue to come into this company, but you have to support us. And they've been really helpful in providing us resources. Tom?
Yeah, no, that was great. And it made me think of something is when going to disclosure, I think that there is such a wide range of disabilities in the world, and a lot of people don't even understand that they might have a disability. And a good example is I've been dealing with gout for the last 4 weeks, the longest bout that I've had, and it affects different parts of my body. It could be the elbows, my fingers, my toe, ankle, knees. And so this time it was both of my knees. And one, the physical pain is crazy. Look it up and read about it if you don't know much about it. It's one of the oldest forms of arthritis. But I physically could not move my legs. And this happens every once in a while. And I used to lie at work and be like, oh, I sprained my ankle or I got a knee injury. And that was never the truth, because the word gout sounds like scurvy with pirates. And I never wanted to talk about it. And this time I didn't really have an excuse, because it was hard for me to work. And it was hard for me with my wife out of town and all of that to even get to my office. I actually spent 6 days in a wheelchair, which isn't the same as living your life in one, but this is like with my hands, I can't type. If it's my elbows, I can't do a lot of things, surprisingly. So I have to adjust every time this hits. And when I finally was talking about it, so many people were like, oh, I know my father or my cousins or my brother, or I have it. And more people talked about it, and you realize how close that was. And I've never heard anybody talk about that before. So I think we need to do, if we're going to grow this space and have people be more open, we have to talk about everything.
Great, thank you. It's interesting listening to you both, and I guess a couple of things that I'm hearing from you both, and one is about the role of openness and vulnerability as a key trait of leadership, and you both display that in terms of your own openness and the way that you share aspects of your own experience. And then the second is how you deliver feedback, particularly when it's feedback about what could be improved, to colleagues or teams within an organization in a way that then makes them want to be able to enact change and to make things better and make things happen. Thank you. Lauren, I will hand over to you for the final question.
Thank you. Yeah, I echo everything that Brendan says, and it's great to see that you've both learned so much, which isn't a surprise because you guys have so much knowledge and experience. So thank you for sharing it with us and with our viewers as well. Just moving on to the last question. So the Purple Light Up is not far away, and we love that Salesforce is a strategic founding partner of Purple Light Up as well. Looking forward to Purple Light Up. What do you personally enjoy about Purple Light Up, and what has been the impact for Salesforce as well?
Purple Light Up was one of the things that I probably jumped into the most when I heard it. Is I'm a very creative person and I'm big into all of that stuff. And it's a challenge for me. And last year I tried to contact every monument around the world, from the Great Wall of China to the Sydney Opera House to the NFL, who actually did get back to me and was really interested. And it makes it like really fun that you could partner with these organizations, but it's also hearing from the members and the people who are involved is, what's the innovation? Can we keep doing better? Can we make sure that, I was thinking about the railing, and I think it was in Italy, I want to say that, where it actually has Braille on the railing that describes the view that you're looking out into. So how can you bring purple light up to describe, the beautiful sights of these buildings or these stadiums and what the atmosphere is like? And I just haven't found something like that. So I am in 100% and always trying to find something new to push this to the next level. So that's what it's brought for me.
Hey, there's a moment of education and awareness, but it gets people talking. I do feel for Salesforce, personally, I think that when we light up the skylines purple, it's a symbol of hope. It's also a symbol of awareness, and that, disability matters at the company, but also internationally, and that we're continuing to be advocates and fighting for accessibility and equality and just the accommodations that we need just to be able to live our everyday lives at home, but also in the workplace. So thanks.
Thanks. Look, yeah, we love working with you to come up with new and strategic ways to drive forward that movement, which we, as you know, we are increasingly finding that organizations, they do use it as that kind of visible celebration, but it's also becoming this hook and this vehicle for change where organizations will use it to launch a new ERG or to launch a new accessible product. So it's great to have you as partners in crime in that endeavor. So we've come to the end of our conversation. So Carden and Tom, thank you so much for coming and sharing your views and your experiences with us.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having us. Really appreciate it.
Yes, I'm just so happy that we got to be a part of one of these with Purple Light Up.
Thank you to our viewers and our listeners for stopping by as well. Next month we will be talking actually, and Carden kind of signposted this one nicely for us when you were talking about storytelling as well. So next month we're going to be talking all about what makes a high impact storytelling campaign. So watch out for our interview next month. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.